When you think about the circus, what comes to mind? Probably popcorn, maybe some incredible acrobats, and of course, a tiny car full of clowns. It all feels like simple fun, right? Pure entertainment. But what if it's more than that? What if the big top is actually hiding something profound?
The poet E. E. Cummings certainly thought so. This line is famous. It suggests that the circus has this, almost sacred quality that sets it apart from literally everything else. It's a pretty intense thing to say when you think about it.
And yeah, that brings us right to the big question. It sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? I mean, how on earth do you draw a line from lion tamers and high-wire acts to deep theological ideas about the meaning of life? Well, it turns out one guy spent his life doing just that.
Let me introduce you to William Stringfellow. Now, this wasn't just some casual fan. He was a highly respected lawyer and a serious theologian who saw the circus as, well, a whole lot more than just a show. For him, it was a key to understanding the world.
Just how serious was he? Well, a friend once asked him how often he went to the circus, and his answer was, "Oh, not often, about 20 times a year." So, yeah, this was way more than a hobby. It was a full-blown obsession. In fact, get this, he got so deep into it that he actually traveled with the circus for an entire season. His official, unofficial title? Resident Theologian. He wasn't just watching from the cheap seats, he was living it, breathing it. And that experience led him to his first, truly mind-bending idea about what the circus is all about.
So, Stringfellow's first major insight was that the circus is a living, breathing parable. But not just any parable, a parable of something huge, a really specific and powerful biblical concept.
And that concept is the Escaton. It's a fancy theological word, but the idea is pretty simple. It's the end of time, the grand finale, the moment when the world as we know it is made right and all of creation is redeemed. So what does that have to do with clowns and elephants? Well, Stringfellow's point was that in our modern world, we've kind of lost our pictures of what that ultimate end looks like. But he argued, the circus, in all its chaotic, colorful, unsophisticated glory, was one of the last living portraits of the Escaton we had left. And he breaks this parable down into 3 parts, perfectly, like a 3-ring circus of meaning. It starts with the menagerie, then moves to the sideshow, and it all builds to the final performance. Okay, first up, the menagerie. Back in the day, the circus posters would brag that their collection of animals was the greatest gathering since the deluge, since Noah's Ark. Stringfellow said that's not just marketing. He saw it as a perfect symbol of the Eschaton, where every single living creature is brought together in one place. Then you had the sideshow. Now, to our modern eyes, this can feel really exploitative, and that's a fair point. But for Stringfellow, it symbolized something different, radical inclusion. It was a place where giants, so-called freaks, bearded ladies, all the oddities of humanity were gathered. For him, this was a mirror of the end times, when every single type of person, no exceptions, is brought together. And finally, we get to the main event, the performance under the big top. This is where it all comes together. A bear is riding a motorcycle, a tiger and a lion are chilling out together, an elephant walks on its hind legs. Stringfellow said this isn't about animal tricks. It's a symbol of humanity's proper, peaceful relationship with the rest of creation being restored. But it goes even deeper. See, in the Bible, beasts aren't always just animals. They often represent what theologians call principalities, these huge worldly powers that run our lives. Think of nations like the British lion or the Russian bear. But you can also think of giant corporations, political ideologies, technology, all of it. So when you see a human taming a lion in the ring, it's a parable of humanity finally getting control over these massive, often destructive worldly forces. But the circus wasn't just this hopeful picture of the future. Stringfellow argued it was also a sharp, powerful critique, a parody even, of the world we live in right now. How? By looking death right in the eye. I mean, every high-wire act, every trapeze jump, every time a tamer puts their head in a lion's mouth, that's a direct confrontation with mortality. Stringfellow believed these acts weren't just for thrills. They were a way of mocking the fear of death that has so much control over our day-to-day lives. And we are talking about serious risk here. People like Clyde Beatty, who was in a single ring with 40 lions and tigers, or the Wallendas building a 7-person human pyramid on a tiny wire hundreds of feet in the air. These performers literally laughed in the face of death.
And here's where he makes this incredible connection. He says that conforming to the world, chasing after money, status, just trying to fit in, is basically a way of worshiping death. It's a life ruled by fear. And the circus performer, they're the one who defiantly breaks free from that.
So you end up with this incredible contrast. On one side, you've got the world, which demands conformity. On the other, the circus, which celebrates defiance. The world is trapped by its fear of death. The circus openly makes fun of it. The world takes things like profits and success so seriously. The circus shows how absurd it all really is.
And who's the master of pointing out this absurdity? The clown, of course. The clown holds up a mirror to all of us, showing us just how silly our ambitions and our self-importance can be. The clown is the jester, the one who gets to tell the truth.
Okay, so what's the bottom line here? Why does any of this matter? Well, it's because this whole idea gives us a totally new way to see the world.
What Stringfellow is really saying is that the circus does two things at once. It acts as a parody, showing us the world's problems as they are, and it acts as a parable, giving us a little glimpse of a redeemed world as it could be. It's a world of reconciliation, of freedom, and of pure joy.
And he really went for it with this idea. He provocatively claimed that the circus, in its raw, dramatic, human way, does a better job than most churches of showing us that our one true enemy isn't failure or poverty, it's death. And more importantly, that this enemy can be faced down.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought. For Stringfellow, the circus was this rare, powerful image of truth and hope. So the question for us today is, where do we find those glimpses? Where do we see people or communities that defy the world as it is and give us a little peek at the world as it could be?